Howdy folks, today we are in Lambertville, New Jersey, looking at a built-in gutter. Now what happens to these commonly is a metal gutter liner is put in and it splits because of thermal expansion contraction through the seasonal changes, and when it splits the structure rots, the gutter sags, and subsequent gutter linings and repairs are added, and the spout is moved to a different location where the water is puddling. So that's what happened here, because who would ever put a spout in the middle of a gutter? Nobody. So we set up for this. We had a pergola structure, a trestle, and we just put a little extra support under it so it would hold us while we're working, just to be on the safe side. We put some plywood on the top and secured our equipment so it wouldn't kick out and hold us up while we're working. Set up a scaffolding, staging system, and we ventured up on the roof to find to see the an EPDM liner in place. Looks more like a ski slope than a gutter. Certainly wasn't working. And as you can see, it was quite a mess. So in looking at this gutter, we had 3 existing layers, and the layer at the bottom was not the first layer. There was one before that, at least one before that. Turn of the century. These type of gutters were added late 1900s, or late 1800s, early 1900s. This house was from the 1700s, didn't have a gutter, but the cornice and details were added. The original turn-coated steel gutter was removed, and 2 more metal liners were put in place, and then the EPDM. And as you can see, this gutter liner material is shot. The old gutter was tin and lead sacrificial coating over steel. Follansbee was the predominant maker of this type of material, the original turn-coated steel, from the mid 1800s to just a few years ago. There's a spout that's been moved about 10 foot off the edge. Originally, this had a singular spout on the one corner. It was moved over because it sagged and collapsed where there was a seam split. And you see this outlet keeps moving each time it's a gutter's added. There's the Follansbee stamp that comes on all the Follansbee metal. It's 40-pound turn-coated steel. As you can see, Follansbee was the manufacturer. There were a lot of tin plate companies around the area. Morris was one of them in Morrisville. Civil War financier. Here's a split right in the, close to the middle on the lowest existing steel gutter liner at the bottom. That's what happens. There's the outlet that was put in there. It's actually a leader head that was made into a outlet and put up there. Somebody tried to be fancy with that, but kind of ridiculous. Over on the end, there's the original spout opening from the original gutter in the original soffit before they overlaid and redid the cornice several times. We totally dismantled it, took off all the structure, and took it to the dump and threw it away. The recycle dump. Threw it away. Rebuilt the structure, nice and straight, level, and then we incorporated a slope, a high point in the middle to both ends, the way it should be. When you got a gutter, it's about 38 feet long. You want to split it down the middle, ideally. We lined it. We got crown molding. We got a gutter belly that's sloped. We got a straight soffit. We got framing. Lined it with brace membrane, detail membrane, As you'll see why, we had a nice window of opportunity to work on this in the winter, but got snowed on. Got snowed on a couple times on this job. Um, it's a tough time, tough winter here in 2014 in January. But I'm sure you recall that. One of the coldest winters ever. Um, but we barreled through it. Went to the shop. Uh, used soft copper because soft copper does not have so much stress on the joints when it's bent. It'll kind of move gently through those cycles, expansion, contraction. Uh, Commercial break bent the pans 10-foot lengths. These pans are bent with a blind cleating system on the face of the crown. It's clipped in. These gutters are not nailed. They're not fastened in any direct method, so they can move. They can move back and forth through their thermal changes. And the cleaning system, of course, is hard copper. Here we swept away the snow. The cleaning system on the front is installed with brass screws. Uh, the gutter itself is laid onto a rosin wax paper isolator slip sheet to isolate it from any acids of the substrate that might be harmful to the copper. That nail that you see in the clip is kind of a swinging clip. Got a single nail in it, allows it to move back and forth. There's the very center high point of the gutter where there used to be an outlet. There's a space there, a little more than an inch, because you got two separate gutters. We're splitting it in half. I'm going to allow it to move back and forth. Of course, on the ends, you've got a spout. It's not going to move that direction. It's going to push towards the middle or pull away from the middle. There you see two end caps fabricated with a 180 clip there, and you'll see a cap that's put on top, and the cap is fastened to one of the sides, mechanically riveted to one of the gutters, and it's allowed some movement there. The gutter's not going to shrink much more, so you see it's pretty tight here. It's only going to expand from here because we're really cold. It's really cold out, so it's going to expand, and this is going to allow it to move. That's one of our joints, are riveted and soldered. That's the best way to do these joints. The old lap hem method with 4 layers of copper creates a bump. This is a nice flat seam that's riveted and soldered, and it isn't going to break. That's a completed gutter after a couple snows and some slate dust sweeping it out after we put the slates back in. That's a completed gutter. Integral gutter, built-in gutter, and as you can see, nice and straight, and it can move back and forth, and it's not going to break, and it's going to last for, gosh, who knows, 100 years. So there you have it, and now we move on to the spouts. We custom cut and soldered the spouts, put on the racks, and ready to put them up. Man, it's freezing out here. Take you around and show you the downspout we just put up. Got to take that old ratty one off, but there it is. Okay, down copper smooth round downspouts. Peerless downspouts are attached with rack and keys. I don't know if you can see that. So they can be easily taken out if they ever need to be. Professional installation. So we're wrapping it up here. We've got the copper built-in gutter, downspout, all done.